Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and today I want to talk to you about Thanksgiving organization when it comes to things like planning. Now you might be wondering, now why do you have a separate book? Because obviously, here it is, it's obviously a separate book. Why do you have a separate book than your normal planner to do these things in? And honestly, the real reason behind it, well, it's kind of twofold. One is it's a memory keeping place. It's a place that I can look back and I can go, oh yeah, in 2013 we had all these people at our house. Or in 2018 it was just the four of us, or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason besides the memory keeping is I really have a separate plan for this, because I also have other goodies linked into. So not only is it a planner, but it's kind of a quick recipe guide as well. So what you'll notice is if you look on the spine, there are 2 tabs in here, and that's because for my Thanksgiving planner there are only 2 sections in it. Now this, the idea of covering this is just a simple composition book. You'll just see, just simple composition book. The idea of covering composition books and using it for a journal or something like that is not original with me. In fact, I originally learned about it years and years ago watching Yoli Beam. I think it was back in 2012, 2013. And she was using composition books for junk journals. They were a bit more extravagant than this one. And I've actually made others to varying degrees of extravagance, I guess you could say. A lot more distressing inside, more sections, more just various papers and stampings and stuff. I've made several of these, and if you look on my YouTube channel, you'll see some of those. But this one is special to me because it's just for Thanksgiving. And I think Thanksgiving is really important. And I really feel like we need to really take time. We should be thankful all the time, but it's a good thing to remember to set aside a specific time where we're showing thankfulness for the things that we've been blessed with. In my family, we spend that time together as a family, as most families in America probably do. We thank the Lord for the things that He's done for us in that time too. So Thanksgiving is really kind of a big deal to me. So now as we're coming in, you'll notice some blank space right here. That's actually by design so that the extra papers that I've taped in won't cause problems with the binding and cause ripping and tearing. So that's why I don't mind the white space in there, because I'm just not that particular. But perhaps if one thing that you could do is you could ink it or something to let it blend in more. It's just not a big deal for me. So this first section is the part that says the planning. So I've got all sorts of things in here. Now I noticed when I pulled it out this year that I've actually only used this 2 years. I would have originally made it in 2013, and I used it fairly extensively in 2013, and then there's nothing in 14 or 15. Now I believe that at least one of those years we didn't have Thanksgiving at home. I believe that at least one of those years we went to visit my family. And the other year it just didn't get done. Probably the year that I was in college again. So then in 2016 there is some information in here, and then last year with the move nothing got planned well. So I'm back into it again. So what you'll see on this first page is it talks about the menu. Now this is 2013's menu here. So this is everything that I had planned for my guests on the menu. And you'll notice here we had 2 turkeys and a ham. That's because I had a big crowd coming over that day, which is another thing with being organized is I had so many people, and of course worked full time. So I needed to be sure that I was prepared for these people. It looks like I had planned on 24 people that year. So then what I did is I put in different recipes. These are recipes that we typically make every Thanksgiving through our family. And then this was something new that year that I had probably downloaded from Pinterest or something I hadn't seen before. And this was just a relish tray with that looked like a turkey. And so that was something I was thinking about using that year. This was the place card that I made for that year with the cricket and some K. Andrew design stamps and a Brad. And then this was kind of my step-by-step of keeping organized, because obviously if you're having 24, and I don't know, does that, oh, that does include my family. If you're having that many people over, you're going to have to be organized for it. So I had it broken down into days and things. Now, one thing you'll notice here, this is more of like a junk journal, bullet journal concept, in that, you know, in a very hyper organized, I would maybe have my menu in one section and my guest list in another section and my recipes in another section. I just wanted it all to be together. Everything that I was doing that year, I wanted it to be all together. So this is the ham recipe that I used, and my thoughts about that ham. This was the turkey recipe that I used and my thoughts about that turkey. And then some family recipes that we make year after year. Now, you'll notice, as I mentioned, my thoughts about that. Now, for me, this wasn't the best ham recipe that I've ever used. And that may be because I didn't do it correctly. I'm not saying there was anything wrong with the recipe, but for me, it's not a recipe I'll use it again. But just because I wasn't going to use it doesn't mean I was going to rip it out of my book. I just left it there, put in notes, so I'll know, okay, that's probably not one I want to try again, or if I want to try it, I want to play with it a little bit to make sure that I don't have some of the issues with it that I had before. Conversely, this turkey recipe I actually forgot about and probably haven't used since 2013 when I did this, but this is the best turkey recipe I've used. Now, I'm not a big turkey eater. I like the leftovers, and I'll eat a slice or two on Thanksgiving Day, but as far as just loving turkey, I know people out there that just love Thanksgiving and they love turkey and they just really like their turkey. I'm not one of those people. So if I say this is the best turkey recipe I've ever used, then I need to come back and use it again. So that's the other part of having all of this in one place. When I pull it out this year, I never would have remembered about this at all. That's too many years ago. It would have been off my brain. I wouldn't remember that this is the one that I want to use. So I probably would have spent time combing through the internet, or else I would have bought a bunch of oil and planned on frying it, and bought a butter injector and injected it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I want to go back to this one now for this year because it's something I haven't used before. I even talked about how the gravy it made was good. So then as we move forward, I had even my cleaning list in here, and decorating list. Remember, I was dealing with a really big crowd that year. So I wanted to make sure that everything was done so that I knew what I needed to do and when I needed to do it. So then we move into 2016. Not quite as much detail, but still talking about my menu and who's bringing what, because with that many people coming, so of course most everybody brings stuff, and this particular year I had it broken down so I knew who was bringing what. My shopping list is still there, and then we move into this year. So again, same concept. One of the differences is I don't have a guest list in here, because now instead of having, I think this one was 15, 16, another one was 24 guests, it's just going to be the 4 of us. So with just the 4 of us, I don't really need to know that it's just the 4 of us, although I probably could and probably will eventually just make a little note in here that Thanksgiving was just the 4 of us this year, just because it helps me kind of keep oriented on how much food I'm preparing and those kind of things. So I have the main Thanksgiving meal, things that are tradition that we make each year, and then double checked with my kids on what things that they wanted us to be sure and have, and then the snacks for the time that they're home, because they're actually going to be home for a few days from where they live. So my plan ahead, my biggest plan ahead as far as just quit planning was to find these watermelon pickles. And if you've never heard of watermelon pickles before, I will tell you what they are. They are actually pickles made out of the rind of a watermelon. I personally do not care for them, but my family does, well, at least some of my family does. My husband's family does. And I am out of homemade ones, so I went looking and I could not find any in my town in the different stores I looked. I think I looked at 3 or 4 different stores. And then I looked at 2 stores actually in the store, and then 2 others I looked online. I did find some on Amazon, but I'm not willing to pay the price from Amazon. So this summer my husband said we're making watermelon pickles again, which is great. I love to have them for my family. Just because I don't eat them doesn't mean we shouldn't have them. We absolutely should have new tastes and new things, and that's something else I want to encourage you in. If you have a family tradition, and maybe you're like me, you married into the family, well, I'm the married in one. This wasn't my family tradition, and one of our children likes them, the other one does not. So you know what, the one that does like them though, she has that tradition she can carry on for her family. The one that doesn't, he won't have them in his family probably, but when he gets together with his extended family, it'll be a familiar taste for them. That's what bringing new people into families will do. But at the same time, I've brought things into our family and into my husband's family that they didn't have from before, because that's what all of us know. That's what bringing families together will do. It's taking the traditions of one, the traditions of another, and forming new traditions to make it better for your new home in life. So that's what a lot of this is about. So, you know, when my kids down the line, when they want to pull out, you know, maybe they're looking for a recipe that they are pretty sure they can find in this book, they can look at that, my son would go, well, we're not having watermelon pickles, but my daughter might go, oh, we're having watermelon pickles, because my son and I, they're not our favorite. So then as I'm planning ahead, I know that what my week holds for work and what I need to get done, so that I don't want to be making all this stuff on Thanksgiving Day. So I have here on Saturday, I finalized my menu, and this may be a little bit early for some, but I went ahead and put my turkey in the refrigerator to start thawing out, because I know for sure it'll be thawed by then, and otherwise I'm liable to realize Tuesday night I haven't pulled it out. So I thought, you know what, it's not going to spoil in that amount of time as it takes to thaw, and it will be a safe thawing method. So I got my grocery shopping done, that I had to actually do the shopping, and then I ordered my Walmart portion for pickup, and that's already now been picked up. So then I don't have anything on the list for today or tomorrow, because I know what my schedule looks like. But Tuesday, I just highlighted the fact that that's the day that the kids plan on coming home. Actually, it'll be early Wednesday morning by the time they get here, but that's okay. And then Wednesday, the parts that we want to make ahead to work so that Thanksgiving Day will be really smooth. Now, I've added a recipe this year. This is a recipe that I actually have in other places, but I decided to move it into this book so that if anybody ever wants this recipe and they haven't found it in any of the other places, it's there, because this is kind of a fall flavor, fall-winter flavor. It's a spiced tea that my grandmother would make, and that I remember for years and years. And my sisters, even now, somebody will say, oh, I'm snuggled up with a cup of grandma's spiced tea or something like that. So I wanted to put it in here, and this is another tip when you're pulling in those family recipes, when you're creating your heirlooms. Now, I want you to know, heirloom doesn't have to mean the $5,000 piece of antique furniture. An heirloom can be bits of paper that your family knows. Anyone in my family can probably tell you that I have this book, even though I haven't used it as consistently. Well, they probably can't. They can tell you I have my Christmas book. But someday somebody's going to find this, and it will be an heirloom for them, because they will see the things that we did back in, you know, the good old days of 2018. But they'll also see the recipes that our family enjoyed. They'll see the things that we did together, the food that we ate, that we may continue to eat, or we may no longer eat. I'll be the grandma. It won't be my grandma's recipe. So that's kind of the purpose of putting together an heirloom book like this. It doesn't have to be fancy, folks. Doesn't have to be expensive paper. This is a, you know, a composition book that probably cost me $1.50. I know for a fact that you can get them at Walmart now for 88 cents in good old 2018. So, you know, 88 cents and a few pieces of paper and some tabs, and you're good to go. You can't beat that. So then the second tab is memories. Now, I did not write anything down in 2013. In fact, I scribbled this out because 2013 was actually stamped in here. So I did have a little blurb in 2016 about the people who came to visit us in our home. I even used this as my guest book. For this particular holiday, instead of pulling out my regular guest book that I've had for years and years and years, I actually had the guest sign my Thanksgiving book that year. So in 2018, I've already started writing and I honestly can't remember what I wrote in here. So I'll just kind of bend over the corner and show that I used the same tab. And what this was just a fold over tab that you could use kind of like this if you wanted to, but I cut it in half and put stickers on it. And then I've already started talking about some of the stuff that I plan to do this year, and so that then I can fill that out as I go on. But you know what, when I pulled this book out, I had no idea who I had at my house in 2 years ago for Thanksgiving. But not only do I see who was there, but I have a very brief summary of what we did, what games we played, so again, that is just building on the heirloom, and it was such a blessing to me to find them, to find that recipe for the turkey, something I haven't made in several years, to pull out and bless my family with. So I hope that you will take this idea. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can even just start, oops, looks like I need to glue down my binding there. It doesn't have to be fancy. You can just start with a plain composition book, or if you want, find a nice, you know, you can go to Ross or another store, Big Lots. You can find journals all over the place for just a few bucks. You can even go to the dollar store and get a book, or you could just go to the Walmart, and instead of picking up the cheap composition 99-cent 88-cent composition book, get one that's already decorated if you're not a decorator. The point isn't the book, the point is what you make the book into, to make it something that can bless your family, almost like scrapbooking, but so much easier. So thanks so much for stopping by today, and remember, take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.